to the Redesigning School Counseling webinar for districts that are working with Redesigning School Counseling. My name is Sue Reynolds. I'm president of the American Student Achievement Institute. And in this webinar, we're going to be talking about actually designing the school counseling program. We've been studying data all year. We've been having a lot of discussions, and now we know where that data is pointing us, and we can start to finalize in each of the schools, and then also at the district level, delivery methods that you want to use to deliver your school counseling program, as well as specific activities that you'll do to address the root causes that we identified a couple months ago. So here's the agenda for today. So we'll just do a couple of updates and tips. We're going to look back over where we've been real quickly. Then we'll highlight the tasks that are coming up in April. And then look ahead, the schools, we want to do a quick look ahead and help you understand what they're doing in terms of getting ready for Gold Star, their Gold Star submission. And then with districts, I want to look again at where we're going with the Lilly implementation grant and how you're going to be prepped to develop that grant application. So, okay, so just one update. This is brand new. We're just kind of finalizing this today, actually. So we've been talking about how we will be having a convening for districts and schools that might be interested in joining a cohort that we're putting together that would apply for the Lilly implementation grant in the same way, and then would work as a cohort to implement a school counseling system over the next 4 years. And I'll talk a little bit about what that would look like today. If you're interested in learning more about this and to really look into the possibility of joining this cohort that will work together and work with us over the next 4 years, the info meeting will be April 13th. It will be at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Indianapolis, and we'll be, at that meeting, we'll be kind of featuring the different delivery models in a little bit more depth. You'll have time to talk about what might be appropriate for your district or your schools. And then we'll also look specifically at, if you're interested in being part of this cohort, what you should put into your implementation grant with Lilly. Again, this is not a requirement. You know, when we talked with you at the beginning of the year, we said, you know, last month that you and your schools were exploring lots of different models. But if you like this idea of a school counseling system where there's lots of delivery methods, that would be a model that you could, you know, work to implement over the next 4 years, and we would certainly be there to help you do that. So I'll talk more about that a little bit later. Okay. So looking back, so what your schools have been doing over the winter months is to, first of all, putting together an organizational structure, so a steering team and a council, and they've collected data. They did that in January. Then in February, we really worked on goals. So we set all of the program goals, all the choices that we want students in your buildings to make. And then we looked at expanding resources, and for your schools and districts, probably one of the resources that you're really looking at is that Lilly implementation grant. And there may be other grants, other funding opportunities or resources that you have available besides Lilly. But we expanded resources, and now we said, okay, if we get this Lilly funding, or if we get this funding from Kiwanis or our Chamber of Commerce or whoever, you know, how many of those program goals could we really make into priority goals? And we looked at saying, you know, if we're really doing something comprehensive, that it would be, you know, quite a large number of priority goals, maybe even, you know, 10 per grade level. But we also said that if we're doing something comprehensive, we're not going to do that all overnight. It's going to be a 4-year implementation plan. And so we might have 40 priority goals, but maybe we're going to focus on 10 of them in the first year and another 10 in the second year. So we're kind of looking at a stepped implementation of this program that you'd like to implement in, and all of the choices that you want kids to make. So then we looked at why kids weren't making those choices. And we specifically wanted to know, why aren't they making the choices that are our priority, that are the priority goals that we're planning to implement next year. We looked at the priority goals that you're planning to address next year, and we said, what's getting in the way of those? So you might have had, just to kind of go back, you might have had 40 priority goals, but you're only going to focus on 8 of them next year. So we only looked at the root causes for those 8 priority goals. And then what we'll suggest that you do, and if you keep working with us, what we'll help you do, is at the end of next year, we'll say, okay, we've got those 8 hit. Now let's look at the next 8 priority goals, and we'll figure out what's getting in the way of them, and we'll do a root cause analysis just for those 8 priority goals. So we'll keep, taking a few more priority goals, looking at why kids aren't making those choices, and then figuring out what we need to do to help kids make those choices. So that was priority goals. We talked about that with you 2 months ago. And then last month we worked on those root causes. So specifically for the priority goals that we're implementing next year, what's getting in the way? And as soon as you knew what those root causes are, then we really started working on activity research. So your schools have been busy doing information interviews over the phone. They've been doing site visits. They've been going to conferences. They've been searching a whole lot of databases in our system to look for possible fixes for those root causes. And again, this is a really important step, because we don't want to do activities just because they're cool, or the school next door is doing them, or they're fun. We really want to target those root causes so that we have targeted activities. Okay, so right now, where we are in the process is that we're at the point where we know what the root causes are, and the council, or in your steering team and your council, have done some research, and they're ready now to really start talking about, okay, what's this going to come down to? What exactly are we going to do differently? So we've done all of that research, the site visits, the information interviews, we've searched databases, and we've come up, your schools have come up with 2 products. One is a delivery method parking lot, and the other is an activity parking lot. So what we did with those is we said, these are things that we'd like to talk about, because we think that they would be a good delivery method for us, or a good activity that would address our root causes. So we have all of those activities that we want to talk about parked in these parking lots. Okay, so then at the same time, last month you said to the schools, we've got some activities or maybe some delivery methods that at the district we'd like to just mandate that you all do. So I know that a lot of you at the district level chose not to have any of these mandates, but some of you thought, it might be a good idea for every student in our district to have a 4-year high school course plan, regardless of what middle school they happen to attend. Or it might be good for all of our elementaries to work on bullying and not just, a few of them. So So at this point, you have said to your schools, we'd like you to incorporate this delivery method or these activities into your plans as you're developing your school's plans. Okay, so now our next step with your schools is to select the delivery methods that they're going to use next year and the activities. And again, we're not, this isn't random, just doing something because it's fun or because it's cool or, it had a neat sounding name or whatever. It's because these activities address the root causes. So we're going to, in the next step, your schools will be convening with their councils, and they'll be making some decisions now. They're going to go in and say, we've talked about all this data. We know what choices we want the kids to make. We know why they're not making those choices. We've gone out to explore what's the best that we could do about it, and now we're ready to make some decisions. So, okay, so that's part 1. And it falls in the process there in our April activity, delivery methods and activities. So when we talk to your schools next week, we're going to emphasize with them that there are 2 time frames that we have a choice of. If they are interested in a grantor that requires a 4-year implementation plan, like Lily, they're going to want to have a 4-year implementation time frame. And if they're not interested in applying for the Lilly implementation funds, then we're okay with them having a 1-year implementation plan. Traditionally, with our work with RSC, we do 1 year at a time, and then at the end of each year, we'll, as we said earlier, we'll pull off some additional priority goals and then do them in the following year. So we tend to work year to year. However, we know that in the case with Lilly, they're looking for a 4-year implementation plan. And the way we've decided to handle that is that as we're helping your schools design their 4-year implementation plan, if that's the road they choose to go down, we'll design the first year with a lot of detail, and then we'll say, we're not only going to do this, but here's the month that it's going to happen in, and here's who's going to do it, and we'll put a lot of detail in. And then in the 3 years after that, we'll just give some broad strokes, like we'll say, okay, in the second year, we're going to implement a teacher advisor program with our 10th graders, but we won't go into a lot of details. It'll be more broad planning after the first year. And then each year, whatever year is coming up next, then we'll do the specific planning. So, but the thing we wanted you to know is that if your schools are not planning, or you are not planning to apply for the Lilly implementation grant, then it's okay with us for them to just plan 1 year's worth of activities. But if they tell us they are interested or they're not sure if they're going to do the Lilly implementation grant, then we'll encourage them to do the 4-year time frame. So, okay. Now, when they're having their discussions with their council this month, they're going to be looking at all those activities on the parking lot. Plus, we asked the council members to also do some research, and we gave them some resources, some databases that they could look through and come to the table with ideas as well. So as they're talking about their activities this month, so in April, we really want the focus to be that we're picking an activity because it's going to address one of our root causes. That's the main reason for picking activity. However, if the school is also interested in Gold Star, to get Gold Star, they have to have activities that address each of the indicators in the Indiana School Counseling competencies for students. So their collection of activities should address root causes, plus should address all of the indicators in the Indiana competencies. Now, keep in mind, sometimes when I'm talking with schools, that feels overwhelming because there's like a gazillion indicators. But I always want to point out to schools that they could do one activity that could hit 5 or 6 indicators. Or they could say, okay, we're going to have a lot of activities, but they're not all going to be implemented by the counselors. Some are going to be implemented by our family and consumer science teachers or by our teacher advisor program or whatever. So we want to get this organized really well, and that's really the key in this part, is the organization of this, so that we're addressing all of the indicators and we're significantly addressing those root causes, but we're doing it in a way that is time efficient. So, okay. So we have targeted activities. They're not just random for fun activities. Then, oops, well, shoot. There is more to that slide, but there we go. I don't know why it didn't come up the first time. So then they're also going to be talking about now making a decision about what delivery methods they'll put in place next year. So I'm assuming that everybody will do the top one, the counselor-initiated activities. That's the traditional school counseling program, and I'm assuming that all of the schools will be doing that. But then if we go around clockwise, there's advisor-advisee activities if your schools wanted to set up a teacher advisor program. There's academic integration activities where we might ask, the schools might ask their health teachers or their family and consumer science teachers whose curriculum overlaps with the guidance curriculum to implement part of the guidance curriculum in their classrooms, or an English teacher who writes a writing assignment around a guidance topic. So there's that delivery method. There's other, because I'm sure down at the bottom that there's delivery methods that we haven't even dreamed of yet. There's parent-initiated activities, community-initiated activities as well. So this month we'll ask the schools to decide who's going to be implementing your activities next year, and if they're doing a 4-year plan in the next 4 years. So a school may decide, okay, next year we're just going to look at counselor-based activities. The year after that we're going to add a community-based guidance initiative, and then the year after that we're going to add on a teacher advisory program. So we're constantly bringing new people in to deliver the activities. And again, if you want to work with the cohort of schools that we'll be convening, we'll kind of guide you all through that process. So, okay. So something else we thought you should be aware of is that when your schools are entering activities into our database, here's everything they're going to put in, which allows us to get different reports out. So when they enter information about an activity, they're going to put in their title, description, alignment with program goals, alignment with the competencies, what delivery method they're going to use to deliver that activity, if this activity is for all students, or is it just for boys, or is it just for third graders, or what grade level, what student groups, and the implementation year. And if the implementation is next year, we'll also ask them for the month. Then I guess I have delivery method on there twice. We'll also ask them about the funding that they need for the activity and the materials that they need. And that information, those last two, is, I think our plan is that will help you to create the funding and budget part of your Lily implementation grant. So, okay. So now here's all the reports that you're going to be able, and your schools will be able to get out. The first one is a program goals crosswalk. So what that does is it gives to the school all of its program goals, and then underneath each program goals it lists the activities that are going to help to make that goal occur. And so there will be a flag if there's a goal that doesn't have any activities that are addressing it. There'll be a flag, and we'll be saying, why do you have this goal if you're not going to do anything to address it? So then they can either choose to get rid of the goal or put in an activity. On the second one, it's the crosswalk with the DOE competency indicators. And again, they'll get a flag if there's an indicator that they don't have any activities to address, which would let them know that they're not in compliance with Gold Star. So that's just a little, check report. Activity and student group crosswalk, that is going to list all of the federal student groups, and it'll say if the schools are targeting in their activities any of those student groups. Both for RAMP and for Indiana Gold Star, the school counseling program, it has to work on closing guidance gaps. So this is a way that the schools document that they've done that. In number 4, this is going to take all the activities and sort them by delivery method, so you can see, the school will be able to see, okay, all of these activities are going to drop into our teacher advisor program, and then all these activities are going to be part of our community-based guidance initiative, so we'll be able to get everything organized there. Same thing with number 5, we'll sort by grade levels, and that's helpful too, because then you can see, okay, these are all the activities for our teacher advisor program, but now here's which ones we're going to put into our 5th grade advisory program and then our 6th grade advisory program. So on 6, activities sorted by partner organizations, that's a report that we think is going to help you with your Lily grant application. 7 is activities calendar, and then 8, which says 7, it's really 8, is a district-wide activity report, and that will give you all of the activity titles in all of your schools across your district, and then it will tell you which schools are implementing those activities. We think that this is really important at the district level for you to look at, to see if where you have common areas where maybe people are overlapping and they can save time by joining forces, and you also will be able to see if there's any gaps in services that you might want to address. So that's the report that in April you'll be using the most as district folks, and we'll get to that in a sec. So then the other step, the next step that we do with the schools in April is to talk with them about applying for funding. This is a step that we've always done for over a decade, 2 decades actually, where when we get to this point we'll say, we don't want money to keep you from implementing a good guidance activity or counseling activity. What funding do you need, and let's go get it. And so, we've had lots of schools that will talk to their chamber or their community foundation or a business to seek funding for the school counseling activities that they want to do. This year, we'll also say, give this information to your district so that they can incorporate this information into their Lilly implementation grant. So basically, here's what we'll be saying to your schools, and then later this is exactly the same thing that we'll be saying to you as district people. So we're saying to your school, if you want to apply for some funding to make some of your activities happen, here's what you would put into a grant application. You'd put in a vision, which is your rationale. We've got that as part of our work, your work with us. You'd put in measurable goals, so there's your data targets. You put in your root causes, or what the problems are. You would do some research, both self-studies and model programs, and we've now done that. And you'd put in your grant application what activities you wanted to do. And so all of that, those first 5 parts of a grant application to anyone, if it's a grant to Kiwanis or to the community foundation or whatever, that part, the meat of the grant application is finished. So then the parts that we still need to work on, and we'll talk with your schools about this, is to identify broad implementation steps for the next 4 years. So, they might have a gazillion little activities, but the broad implementation step might be to implement 9th grade advisory program next year, and then implement 10th grade advisory program in the following year. So there are broad implementation steps and a broad timeline for those broad implementation steps. And then we'll have a tool where they can create a Gantt chart that is a time chart. It's like a bar graph, a horizontal bar graph that shows steps over time. They'll tell us which steps from their implementation they want us to include in the Gantt chart tool that we have. And then finally, they'll look through everything and they'll say, well, okay, what money are we going to need over the next 4 years? So they'll say, okay, for this stage we're going to need $10,000 to do this, and this stage we're going to need 100 or whatever. And the computer will aggregate all that information for you at the district level, so that at the district level we'll go through these same steps, but we'll have aggregated reports from the schools to help you do that. And I'll talk more about that in a sec. So, but again, we don't want to limit our thinking about grants to just Lilly funding. And this is a step we've always done at the end of the process is, do we need money to do this? Yes, okay, let's go get it. And we talk about how to apply for grants. So, okay. So I'm going to pause here before we get into the district, and let's see, just jump in or type in a question if you have any questions about what the schools are doing next. So just in 2 sentences, number 1, the schools are identifying now the delivery methods and activities that they will do. So in April, that's their first step. And then the second step is to think about, do they need money to do this? And if so, start to either put together a grant application themselves or give you the information that you need to include them in your Lilly grant. Okay, Debbie, questions? Kind of rattling on here.
I don't see any questions right now.
Okay. So, and again, as you think of things, our goal is always to make sure your questions are answered before we close the webinar. So, jot some things down, and we'll pause again in a few slides. Okay, so now at the district level, here's your task. So first of all, just a reminder that all district activities are optional. So here's what we suggest you do this month, or in April. One is, after all the schools, so towards the end of April, after all the schools get their activities in, we suggest that you print the summary report for the district and look at all those activities. And as you're doing that, you'll be talking about at the district level, do we want to have district-wide partners? Is there, are we seeing that the same business is partners with, a lot of our schools, and let's just name them as a district partner? Or are there people in the community that you've been working with throughout this process that you'd want to identify them as a district-wide partner? So when you get to the Lilly Grant, we're going to be wanting to talk about your district partners. And so you'll be able to say, okay, the Kiwanis Club is a partner with us in all of our work in every school. Or you'll be able to say, the Lions Club is partnering with Cherry Elementary School. And define it that way, school by school. Okay, and then the other thing we'll ask you to determine after you've looked at all of these summary reports is, does it make sense to have a district-wide delivery method? So, for example, I think a really good one is if you see that 80% of your schools are looking at doing a community-based guidance initiative. Why not just have that be a district-wide initiative where you're thinking that all of our schools are going to integrate community-based work into their school counseling programs. So that's now a district-wide delivery method. Or maybe you're after looking at all your schools' work and having conversations, you're thinking it just makes sense for all of our middle schools to have a teacher advisor program. So that would then become a district-wide delivery method. And then same thing with activities. Are there activities that you just want to say to schools, okay, these are going to be activities that we're doing across the district? And there's two reasons for that, having activities the same across the district. One is that one of the things that always kind of speaks to me is, I would hate it if a student who just happened to go to one middle school got maybe better services or more services than a student that happened to go to another middle school. So, to make those standardized to some degree, I think is really helpful to kids, so it doesn't, everybody gets the same services regardless of what middle school they're at. The other thing with coordinating those activities across the district is that then you can start to do some vertical articulation where you can say, okay, like for example, in 8th grade, all of our 8th graders are going to do a career interest inventory before they select their high school courses. And then, as they're feeding into 9th grade, every student's got that behind them. So that vertical articulation can be, really helpful at this point as well. So, okay, so after you've determined that, then in step 3, you're going to want to have a conversation with the schools and tell them we are going to have these district-wide requirements, where everybody's going to have a teacher advisor program, everybody's going to do a FAFSA initiative, or whatever you want everybody in the district to do. Okay, and then the other thing is that as you're looking at all of this district-wide data, I think there's going to be times that things are going to jump out at you, and you'll be saying to yourself, why aren't these schools working together? They're doing the same thing. Why have two people inventing the wheel when they could just work together and save each other time and maybe be more creative in their thinking? So I think you're going to see places where you'll be able to pick up the phone and say, this other school is doing this, and I see it's so close to what you're doing, you might want to join forces. And the same thing, if you see that schools are duplicating, you might say, why are you doing this at the high school? They've already done it at the middle school. So all the, in my own program, I saw that happen with resumes. I was teaching kids how to begin doing a resume in 9th grade, not knowing that my middle school counselors, that the middle school counselors were already doing that. So, and now the poor kids have 2 different formats for keeping a resume, and it just wasn't coordinated. So that's another thing, that as you look at this district-wide activity report, you might see some things that jump out like that. And then finally, as you're looking at this district-wide report, I think you'll see areas where maybe you'll be able to help. If you see that everybody's working on FAFSA completion, you might say, you know, I'd love to take everybody to lunch and let's talk about what we're going to do district-wide on FAFSA implementation to address FAFSA. So, or you might say, you know, I really like putting on college fairs. I'll put on a college fair for the district, and then you guys can save your time to do something else. So there might be, you know, situations like that as you look at that summary report. So that's basically, this is your work for this month, for April, is to look at that after the schools have their activities in, to look at that summary report, and then determine what do you want to do district-wide, if anything. You may not have anything you want to do district-wide. And then also to determine where do you need to mentor, advise, or coach the schools a little bit as you're looking at the big picture. Because remember, the schools are only looking at their little piece, but you are the ones, you know, that are looking at the big picture, the district-wide picture from your perspective. So it's a different perspective than what the schools have. And I think that you'll come out of this with some really good guidance for them. So, okay, so that's the tasks. I'm going to get into looking at what's coming up in a second, but want to see if anybody has any questions about what your tasks are for the month of April. Debbie, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Okay, so let's go on then to looking ahead. So schools in May, so this is going to happen in the latter half of May, they will be working to prepare to implement their activities next year. And they'll also, at the very end of May, this is after they've given you everything that you need for the Lilly grant, there's just some odds and ends that we need to finish up for Gold Star. These odds and ends had nothing that was directly pertinent to the Lilly grant, so we postponed these things until afterwards. So all of the tasks that are in black font are like either already finished, they just need to be submitted, or they're like major no-time tasks, like the assurance statement is just signing the statement and uploading it. So, you know, just very minor. The tasks that are in red are tasks that are going to take a little bit of time, creating some lesson plans, writing a job description if they don't already have one, developing a program brochure, and then answering narrative questions for DOE and RAMP about how they did this process. We'll give them samples for all of that, but that's going to take a little bit of time. The very last task is highlighted in yellow. This is a RAMP and DOE requirement that when this is all finished, there's a requirement that they present the new program to the school board. That does not have to be a face-to-face, although I think most of our schools do that face-to-face, but it could also be sending them links where they can open up the priority goals and the activities and kind of see the program that way as well. But we do need to be able to verify, they need to be able to document that they have shared their program with the school board. So, okay, and that would be happening like in the end of May, beginning of June. We need everything to be finished by June 15th. So, okay. In terms of the district, again, we are working right now on getting everything ready for you so that we're writing that implementation grant as easy as possible. So there are 3 sections in the RFP, and we kind of talked about this before. We're getting ready to create this tool right now. And here's the RFP language, and then what we'll do is we'll give you a page that looks like this. So when you're ready to answer this question, who led the preparation of the grant application, you'll be able to just open this up, and here will be people's names and their positions and all of that. At some points, you're going to see sample language. So in this case, give a brief description of the program to which the applicant aspires. If you are planning to continue with us to create this school counseling system, we'll give you some sample language to just put in there that describes the program to which you're aspiring, so you don't have to create that from scratch. So you can, just take our words and put them into your own words and stick them in there, but it will describe basically what we do. So yeah, so that's that. That's the executive summary. It's 2 pages. The narrative is 12 pages. And on there, again, if you're planning to continue with us, and it's our Guiding All Kids, our systems approach that you are aspiring to, we'll give you sample language for these sections. If it's some other model that you're aspiring to, then you can describe that program. So okay, everything is pretty much ready to go. We're still creating the community partner and activity report, but that's you'll have that by the time you're writing the grant app. And then on the appendices, we're still working on creating these last 3 reports. But again, you'll have those by the time you're ready to write the grant app. And your grant app writing window, remember, the schools will be finished with their work by May 9th, and you'll have May 9th then to May 19th to write that grant app. And if you'd like to send it by us for a friendly read and suggestions, we'd be happy to read those apps for you. So yeah, so that's coming. I'm just going to make sure you have that. And then just a reminder, for the next webinar will be April 18th. And at that, we'll specifically go over the Lilly grant. By then, all the tools that you need will be ready, all the sample language, everything will be ready for you to look at. So, and then the schools will be providing for you their last parts by May 9th. And then on May 9th, you'll start writing your grant. We'll do another little webinar there just to kind of touch base with you. And then this is a new webinar we put in for the schools. We thought that we should probably just touch base with them one more time to talk about those extra odds and ends that they're doing for Gold Star. So yeah, so that's kind of it. Yep, so let's go back and we'll answer questions, but I'm going to go back to that slide that talks about district activities. So this is, if you're having your district meeting right after this webinar, this is what we'd want to talk about. And this is not something you can do right now, but you can make plans for doing it. And the reason you can't do it right now is because your schools have not yet entered their activities. And yeah, so I guess the one thing, though, that you want to be thinking about is if you have not yet, we asked you a month ago to let your schools know if you had any mandated activities that you wanted them all to do. If you do have mandated activities and you've not told them yet, you need to let schools know that right away so when we meet with them next week, they know that they're starting out with activities that you're asking them to do. So, okay, that is it. Gosh, finishing a little early this time. Let's see what questions we have. So now's your time to raise a hand or type in a question.
Yeah, so I don't see any questions, but they can also unmute themselves and just voice their questions, correct?
That is true. I guess while you're thinking, let me go to the online system really quickly. Let's see, I had to do a restart right before when we were having those technology problems. So let me get back in here. And I'll show you what the online system looks like. Let's see, I'm going to become a district. And I think we always become Dunlin, not always. Forget who we became last month. Okay, so in the online system for the district, we're going to scroll down to the April activities. And remember, at the end of last month, the end of March, actually the end of right now, we're asking if you haven't done it already to make sure that you've told the schools if you have district-wide delivery methods or activities that you're asking them to implement as part of their program. So that's happening right now. And then in April, you'll decide, do we want to have district-wide delivery methods, and if so, you'll enter them. District-wide partners you'll enter, and then district-wide activities. These will be hot in the next couple of days. And when we're entering district-wide activities, one thing that you can get a little off on here is just make sure that you're not entering a parking lot activity, you're actually entering a real activity. And again, this is for your district. And you would just go in, name the activity, describe it, give us the activity type, if it's guidance, academic, career, personal, social, counseling, advocacy, management, non-program. What's the purpose? And you'll see if it's the meet the school programs goal, and actually this is the district's goals in your case. When you click that, your district goals will pop up here. So Dunedin must not have district goals, which is fine. So we didn't get any that popped up. But if they did, you would just check the ones that the activity addresses. And then if you click, we're doing this activity at the district level to help everybody meet an external requirement, you would tell us that it's an Indiana Gold Star School Counseling requirement. And when you do that, you'll see that this little section popped up, and then you select the indicators that required activity across the district is going to address. So, okay, I'm going to go back to here so I don't mess up Dunedin. Okay, and grade level, student groups, and then just year. And notice that in the first year we force you to pick a month if it's something that's going to be implemented next year. But if it's going to happen after next year, you can just click to be determined if you're not sure what month that's going to fall in. So, okay, and then from this will become the list of activities that your district is doing district-wide. So, okay.
2 questions.
Yeah, let me just finish this up real quickly. Is that okay, Debbie, or is it?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So just to go ahead with this process page. So we're entering activities, and then here's the applying for funding, and these are the parts that we're still working on, but they'll be ready by the time you need them in May. So, and then this last webinar that we had planned, we're just going to make that a Q&A so that if you have questions on May 9th about anything as you're starting to write your grant application, there won't be any content coming from us, it'll just be answering your questions. So, okay, Debbie, questions?
Yes, we have 2 questions. Angela asks, will we be able to upload will they be able to review this webinar? Yes,
yeah. So we will archive it as soon as we finish, and we always put the archived webinars, let's see, no, I can't find one. Yeah, they'll always be archived right in here. So it'll be, yep, there'll be an icon right in this report part that you'll be able to open and get the archived.
Okay, and the next question is, when will the database of activities be available? Last time I looked, it wasn't.
The database of activities, that should be available. Let me just go check. I think this is, you'll have to come back and tell me if this is what you're talking about. But when we were doing activity exploration, when we were looking at, let's see, the site visit summaries and possibilities, that's now functioning. I'm not sure which of these you're talking about. The site, the community-based school counseling lesson plan database. So whoever answered that question, is this one of the ones that you're talking about? Everything's hot right now.
She said yes, all of those, the activity exploration and then the rest.
Okay, so everything, like if I put in the lesson plan search, that's all hot, so I can put in the word career there, and I've got 43 lesson plans that have come up to deal with careers. You know, that's pretty broad search word, but so that's good to go. And if I go to the community-based guidance database, if I put in career there and search, I'm getting 897 community activities around careers. Oops. And so there's the career one, or that's the community one. The site visit summary or site visits possibilities, that's a very small database because we just started building that this year. So I'm not sure how many schools have entered that in. I'm going to say I'm searching for activities, and let's just put in the word the. Actually, yeah, that will tell us. So right now we only have 9 schools that have typed in a site visit summary. So, but that'll grow as more schools do that step. Okay. So, and then this is where you enter the site visit summaries that appear there. And then, yeah, that's it. So all of those are working now. I know on the site visit summary one that was not ready, but that was ready a little later, but everything's ready right now.
She asks, grow within the next month? Is it going to grow within the next month, I think is what she means, or a year?
Is it, I'm sorry, what, say again?
Angela asks, grow within the next month or the next year?
I'm not sure what your first word was. Gray?
Grow.
How do you spell that?
Are these going to grow within the next year or the next month?
Oh, grow. Will there be more activities? You know, I don't know. I'm really excited about that site visit database. And I think that, you know, this is a 4-year process. And as more and more schools start to go out and explore, I think that, you know, it'll certainly grow. You know, if we have, what, 150 schools that are going through Gold Star RSC right now. So, you know, if every one of those schools visited one site and put in one site, there's 150. If you know, so yes, I think it will. I think it will grow, and I think it will grow pretty soon because the deadline for that step is, you know, it's right about now. So I anticipate that will go up. The other thing that, just a kind of a comment on that, when you enter those, notice that it says summary or possibilities. Like we know that, like me personally, I know of some school counseling activities that I wanted all schools to consider. So I've actually been entering some of these just based on my knowledge. So I've been putting, you know, a summary, and like I put in one on teacher advisor programs and started describing the teacher. Actually, it was the teacher advisor program that I had at Indian Creek High School when I was there, to just give people an idea of what a teacher advisor program might be like. So it doesn't have to actually be a school that you visited in the last month for you to add to this database. It could be just a school that you know of, that, you know, you'd like to share with other schools. So, but yeah, and you can see, I mean, in our community-based database, there's 3,000 activities in there because all these different organizations have taken the time to share ideas. And that's what I love about working as a cohort. It's in our new cohort that we're just putting together for the next 4 years. I mean, I'm so excited about, you know, if we have 20 different schools that are all working on advisor advisee or setting up district or community-based guidance. You know, they'll learn from each other. We'll learn from them. I think we're going to do in that cohort, I think we're going to do some face-to-face meetings so that we can develop those relationships better and really learn from each other. So it's really a learning community more. So, but yeah, I love it that we can put together these databases that can be searched. So that was a long-winded answer. Could be any other questions that have come in?
No other questions. She just says they're hoping to use this as part of their exploration process. So
Good,
thank you.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. And again, the the lesson plan database, there's several hundred lesson plans in there, like 500 or 600. But that community-based database, I mean, there's thousands in there. So, and just because it's a Kiwanis club, you know, that's doing a guidance activity, that doesn't mean that it couldn't be something that could also be implemented by a counselor in school. So, yeah, so that would be a good one to search as well. So, okay, that sounds good. Well, we're kind of getting down to it now, and you know, the other thing, and then I'll close, but I wanted to say that at this step, it's a little bit messy because, you know, your schools are getting all these ideas, and you're getting ideas, and now we've got to kind of, you know, narrow it down to what exactly is going to go into the grant application. And so I just really encourage you to talk. Most of you have a representative from each of your schools on your district team. If not, this would be a great time to really develop those relationships with the point people in your buildings. You know, get pizza and go out for lunch, or, you know, have lunch together or whatever, and just, you know, just so people can talk and give you a heads up about where they're heading. You know, sharing reports is great way to share information, but we think that getting together face-to-face is really important as well. So this is a little bit messy in this part because we're trying to, you know, get lots of different ideas from lots of schools. But I really encourage you to keep the communication open and have a lot of discussions right now. So, okay, last chance for questions. Debbie, anything?
Nope, I don't see anything.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you, everybody. This is really exciting. I can't wait to meet next month and really talk about now writing that grant app. And I hope that, especially for those of you who decide to be part of the cohort that we're putting together, I hope that the language and all the tools that we're giving you will make that grant application really simple. So, okay, sounds good. Everybody have a wonderful spring break, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.